Hello, everyone. This is Shayla Gibbs on Recipe for Success. I hope you're not listening, but if you are, please do spread the word. Today, I would like to welcome Jeff Wolfson, an investor in the alternative health and wellness industry, an expert in the cannabinoid therapy, and an advisor on the Physicians Cannabinoid Council. Hello, Jeff. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. How are you?
Charlotte, I'm wonderful. How are you today?
We are good. London is not raining, a bit of sun, so we're doing well. How are you?
Summertime. I'm wonderful. Just enjoying sunny California, and
Ah,
excited to join you and your guests today, or your audience today.
well, thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit of your background?
Sure. Yeah, I'm an investor, as you had mentioned, in the health and wellness space, primarily in alternative healthcare, and I've got a really deep passion for this space because I believe that the answers to healing and to longevity are really right either within us or already within the world, whether it's through plant based medicine or it's through other things like cold ice plunges and red light therapies and proper hydration and eating low inflammation foods and all those kind of things. So I have found my passion in this industry. And it really all started because of CBD and what I found out about CBD.
What led you to specialize in CBD?
Well, about 5 years ago, maybe six, I I was a totally different person. I was about 50, 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I lumbered up and down the staircase in my house in pain. My knees hurt, my elbows hurt. I could barely shake someone's hand because of the pain in my elbow. I couldn't get in and out of the car. Pulling a seatbelt over like this just caused major pain. Every part of me hurt, and I literally felt 30 years older. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. And my sister had suffered from rheumatoid arthritis, so I had set an appointment to see an RA doctor. But unfortunately, it was about 4 months out to see them. And in the meantime, I had started looking at investing in CBD because it was a big topic, it was all the rage, and CBD was becoming very popular at that moment. So I said, gee, this is really an interesting product. I don't know if it could help me or not, but if I'm going to invest in this space, I should at least try this stuff. So I started taking CBD. And before that, I searched out a great product. I found the owner of the company and I talked to him about his product. I want to make sure that it was a good product, that it was pure, and that didn't have toxins and things like that in it. And so I started trying CBD, and it was about 3 weeks later, after my first dose of CBD, that I had kind of run up my staircase at my house, and I got up the top of the staircase, and I said, "Did I just run up the stairs? Like what the heck? I don't run up the stairs. I kind of lumber like an old man, and that's interesting." And then I went down the stairs and was like ping, 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 like a little kid, right? And I felt like a little kid, and I had all this energy, and I said, I just ran down the stairs pain free, and I said, "Gee, I wonder if I can open a water bottle." Now, I know that you might say like, "What's that all about?" But literally, back then, for me to open a bottle of water, I had to do this,
Oh
or
my
I'd have to grab
God.
like a towel or something to get a grip. I had no strength in my fingertips. So anyway, I ran to the refrigerator and I said, "Boy, let me see if I could open a bottle of water." And I went to the fridge and I went, like with my fingertips, like I used to, ping, opened it right up, no problem. And the light bulb went off for me, and I said, "Geez, this is something that I've got to do. This is the CBD. I can't believe it." A week later, I went to my appointment. I went anyway, and the doctor said, "Well, how you feeling?" I said, "Well, I'm great. About a week ago, all of a sudden, my symptoms were gone." And I told him what I was doing. Lo and behold, we started chatting a little deeper. He said that he was involved in the Physicians Cannabinoid Council, and he referred me to Dr. Trin, who founded the council. Anyway, long story short, I ended up meeting up with Dr. Trin, and then I became an investor in the Physicians Council. And the Physicians Council is a really cool organization because we actually test products. We do like a third party verification of products to make sure there's no heavy metals or toxins or mold or pesticides in the products. And we also do a lot of education. They have a journal of cannabinoid medicine as well. So there's ways to educate not only doctors but the public. And so fast forward, here we are today, and I'm an investor in the space and just loving it, feeling great, feeling vibrant, feeling young, and all that. So
Well, you look amazing.
thank
And
you.
on that note, did you had any side effects?
The side effects typically are things like dry mouth. Some people say nausea. It didn't happen to me. And it could make you a little tired if you take a higher dose, which is great for sleep. So it helps with sleep.
Yeah.
It can interact with the liver with some medicines that are heavily processed in the liver. It also acts as a blood thinner too. So you need to be cautious about when you take it. And you should always talk to your doctor as well about interacting with other drugs. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, is something that you should look at. But really, none of these are major concerns. It's more about how you manage it and how you incorporate it into your lifestyle. So for the majority of the population, there's really no issues at all with other drugs and interacting.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know if I will say this correct, but what is the endocannabinoid system?
Yeah, ECS. We'll say it's the endocannabinoid system, but we'll call it the ECS for short. Uh, it's part of our body, and it wasn't even known or discovered until the late '80s, early '90s by a doctor in Israel, Dr. Meshulam, who's since passed away. But he's basically the father of the endocannabinoid system, the founder of it, and it's a system of receptors throughout our brain and body that help regulate our body. So, for instance, there's a CB1 receptor in the brain and a CB2 receptor in the body.
Uh-huh.
And when they're working properly, we get into what we call homeostasis, which is a balance of the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, when the endocannabinoid systems in the brain, the EC1, are working properly, we find ourselves in better moods, less headaches, less anxiety, better sleep. When the CB2s are affected or operating properly, we find ourselves with less inflammation throughout our body, less pain, less aches, better muscle recovery for folks that are working out. And that all translates into improved health and wellness in a myriad of ways. It really, at the end of the day, both the EC1 and the CB1 and the CB2, they affect inflammation, and inflammation is basically the root of evil in our bodies. It
Mm-hmm.
causes pretty much every disease that we can think of is inflammation related. So when you
Yeah.
reduce your entire inflammation of your body, you find yourself a lot healthier in a lot of ways. So it's very exciting.
Is it fair to say you think then that would help um, with the symptoms of menopause? Because, menopause, that's where I'm trying to educate people on CBD and menopause, how to help to alleviate the symptoms we have. And as you know, we have hot flashes, brain fog, night sweats,
Yes.
can't sleep. I mean, I think it's 43 symptoms. God knows. Is it
Yeah.
fair to say then if we use, did you say C1 or E1?
Well, the CB1 is the cannabinoid receptors in the brain. The CB2 are in the body. So those things you mentioned are both brain and body, right?
Yeah.
And those symptoms. And yes, there's a lot of promising studies that show that that cannabinoid therapy, whether it's CBD or other cannabinoids. By the way, CBD is only one of like 100 cannabinoids from the cannabis plant
Yeah.
that are in the body. And contrary to public belief, a lot of people think that CBD gets you high. It doesn't. The THC component of the plant will get you high, but CBD doesn't get you high at all. It just helps to regulate your nervous system. So, in relation to what you just talked about with menopause symptoms, things like hot flashes, night sweats, not unable to sleep, anxiety, mood swings, all these things could be regulated by an item like CBD because it helps to keep you more steady.
Yeah.
In addition, reduce that anxiety. You got better blood flow. You just feel better. You're more vibrant. You feel younger. Like I mentioned, I felt 20, 30 years younger. So all those will relate to better sexual health too.
Yeah.
And then when you get into aches and pains in your body, well, since you're being regulated with the CBD, you'll see that generally speaking, there'll be less of that. And by the way, it's not like a magic pill either. And number one, it takes time to work in your body. It takes time to build up in your body. And you should do other things that are really important too, like drink a lot of water. Like most people
Yeah.
don't drink enough water. It's just a
Mm.
basic key thing that we should all be doing is drinking more water and eating in foods that are less inflammatory as well, and making sure that you're not on your phone right before bed. We all
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
I do it too. And be off that phone at least an hour before bed and cut out screens and don't eat dinner too late. Don't drink alcohol too late. Don't drink caffeine too late. I can go on and on
Hmm.
about all the other things, but certainly with CBD, I found that even when I was doing some of the other things like that I just mentioned, when I was taking CBD in a higher dose, which I don't need the dosage as much now because I'm doing all the other things too. So I do use CBD still, but I don't need quite the dosage I was using before because I incorporate all that healthy living into my lifestyle, and it all helps. It all contributes.
Two questions.
Sure.
What is the difference between CBD and THC?
Yeah.
And second question, how do you know what is the correct dose for you?
Okay. The difference between CBD and THC. Well, let me just start off. There are some similarities. Both have been
Yeah.
found to reduce anxiety. Both have been found to reduce inflammation. But there are some fundamental differences too. The primary difference is THC will get you high. It'll get you buzzed, whereas CBD won't. CBD could actually regulate your mood though and make you just a little more steady. And it's just a very subtle type of thing where it'll put you in a better mood.
Yeah.
And in terms of dosage, that's one of the tricky parts because everybody's body is different. Every human and animal are different with the endocannabinoid system and the receptors and how many we have and how like if you're already a user of THC, it might take you more CBD to kind of achieve these goals. Sometimes it takes people weeks and months to find the right dosage of CBD since our bodies are all different. And we do a thing called titration, which is basically a fancy word for, hey, do I need more or less of this product? So we always recommend, start low, go slow, start with lower dosages. Be consistent though. You want to take them in the morning and the evening. And sometimes if you have anxiety, you want to take it 3 times a day, like morning, noon, and night. The
Got
higher
it.
the dose, generally speaking, the more sedative it becomes. But it's not such a sedative that it'll actually knock you out. It's not like you need to worry about driving a car, operating heavy machinery, anything like that. It'll just prime your body for sleep when you take a
Yeah.
higher dose. And if you just relax into it, say take it 20 or 30 minutes before bed, and then just relax. Don't make sure you're not on your phone or anything. You'll find that it'll help ease you right into sleep and get you into a deeper sleep much faster. But the real key is to be patient with it and to try the lower dosages first and then work your way up if you need to.
Oh, wow. But it's a lot of misconception about CBD. People always assume CBD will get you high or whatever it is. How do we address that? What would you suggest? Or how do one address the misconception about CBD to use
Well,
for anything, for menopause or for, as you had your own
absolutely.
issues?
Well, fortunately, there's folks like you out there that are trying to spread the word. There are a number of resources, as I mentioned, the Physicians Cannabinoid Council, where we try to spread the word about the misconceptions of CBD and really try to educate doctors and the public. And
Yeah.
that's really the key. And, unfortunately, there's so much noise out there with all the rage of CBD and THC. And you get a lot of people, a lot of organizations that maybe are afraid of how powerful CBD is and how it can really affect you, that they publish their own
Yeah.
data that
Yeah.
says, this and that, it causes this, it causes that. So as a consumer, you have to always be very critical about, where that information is coming from. And I always recommend, follow the money, right? If you
Yes.
follow the money, you'll figure out who's trying to influence you in a certain way. But there are some great organizations out there, like independent doctor organizations that focus on educating the public. There's various industry groups in the CBD industry, but I'd say one of the most trusted resources is the one I'd already mentioned with the doctors, the Physicians Council, and the soon to be published Journal of Cannabinoid Medicine. Those are going to be some great resources. And then you can go on PubMed and look up all the various studies as well, and you can see the real data that's
Yeah.
it's not being spun by anybody in a marketing department for some company. It's actually
Hmm.
real data that the doctors have published and real studies on real people. So that's a great way to go about it.
And how do you see the field of the cannabinoid medicine evolving?
Well, a year ago, I would have said, "Geez, I'm a little nervous because a lot of these companies are really struggling. There's been so much noise in the industry, so much misinformation,
Hmm.
but and there hadn't been enough clinical studies yet. But a lot has changed recently with the new laws and the descheduling of cannabis and making it a Schedule 3 drug. So now a ton of studies are going to be opened up. A ton of clinical studies are opening, and you're starting to see it become popular around the world. In fact, the council right now is working with the European Cannabis Association as well.
Oh,
So
wow.
you're seeing more and more information come out, not only in the United States but in Europe. So we're working very closely with them, and they're working very closely with pharmaceutical companies. So you'll see more and more studies come out really soon, and we're excited about that. In fact, I'm sure with what you're doing with menopause that there's going to be some great opportunities for products in that space to go through some of these studies that'll actually prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these products work. Right now, there's a
Yeah.
ton of anecdotal evidence that they work. It's basically, you telling somebody and a friend telling somebody else, you hearing it, in your group, you're sitting at a restaurant, you're at a family gathering, and you're starting to talk about the benefits of CBD and what it's doing for you. But beyond that, we can get to the point where there's clinical studies, which is a necessary thing to actually get it on the shelves and get it in mass consumption. It's something that
Yeah.
is definitely necessary. You're going to see more of that though. There's a lot of opportunities for products and brands to go through these studies. They are not cheap, but they're definitely important.
Wow. And do you think, well, I guess, but are there any studies now for menopause? Do you know that? If with the CBD in regards
Uh,
to menopause?
there are some, but there's more related to, I'd say, various symptoms of menopause, like anxiety,
Mm,
mood swings, depression.
yeah.
So, menopause is kind of like there's like a catch-all. There's so many things that kind of happen to women, but keep in mind it's all about regulating your nervous system, and that's what is really cool about CBD and what we've seen in various studies with the regulation of the nervous system. Get rid of headaches, help you sleep better, help your mood. So all these things you'll see various studies in these areas. And of course, there's tons of opportunities with menopause, but I don't think there's a ton that I know about of actual pure menopause studies yet. Which
Hmm.
kind of what we're talking about here. That's a great opportunity to do some studies, though.
Is there anything about CBD that you'd like to tell us about that we don't know? Educate us. We are
Uh,
completely ignorant about CBD here in Europe.
well, number one, you can't overdose on it, and
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of people go, "Oh, really? You cannot overdose. If you take too much, quote too much, or a lot, it really won't do anything. It just your body won't kind of uptake it, so to speak. It'll just
Yeah.
go through your body, and you'll just kind of dispel it out.
Yeah.
So that's important to know. And as I mentioned earlier, if the lower the dose, the more energizing in general for people. The higher the dose, the more sedative. But
Yeah.
again, it's not like you're going to take a high dose and you're just going to pass out. It doesn't work like that. If, in fact, what I have found, this is a personal observation, by the way, for
Yeah.
me, when I take it at night, if I take it 20, 30 minutes before bed and I let myself go to sleep, it'll knock me out. However, if I fight through it, I get on my phone and I start doing something, then I'm up and it doesn't
Yeah.
really like put you to sleep. So it's not like a sleeping pill. So that's
Yeah.
really important to know. Um, the side effects are very minimal and very manageable. Obviously, you want to talk to your doctor, as I mentioned earlier, if you're on medications that are heavily processed in the liver, you're on blood thinners, you're pregnant or breastfeeding. These are things that you're going to want to run by your doctor. But in general, there's not really a lot of side effects. And if you're patient with it and you take your time and you give it a month or two, and I recommend to people give it 60 days to see, because the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you might not notice anything. You might need a little more. If you're starting low and going slow, then you might need a little more. You might need it more frequently. You want to be consistent, though. You want to take it at least twice a day, sometimes more. And as long as you're patient and you're consistent and you give it a try, I think you're going to find that you have a lot of success with it. And also, it's important for people to know it's not like a drug. It's not like taking a pill for a headache where your headache is going to go away in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Although it can do that and it can work, I think maybe the better analogy is more about inflammation. If you're
Yeah.
taking pills to reduce inflammation, it might mask your pain, but it's
Yeah.
not really getting in and curing your inflammation, so to speak. It's not really tamping down your inflammation. Whereas if you take a cannabinoid like CBD over a period of time, you'll find that your inflammation in general will get reduced.
So, to wrap up this incredible interview, is there anything you'd like to share about your experience or insights regarding the use of CBD that we haven't
Well,
covered yet?
other than like I said, it's one of these things where if you're patient with it and you give it time, you'll find most people find success. Do your homework, do your research, and be open minded. And it's not going to get you high. It's not going to cause you to wreck your vehicle or anything like that. And there's not really a lot of downside risk. You can't overdose. So all these things are important. With a product like this, it's new to many consumers. But I would say, keep an open mind and give it a shot. And I'd love to hear any success stories that you or the ladies in your network that have. We would love to hear about it, and we'll talk about it at the Physicians Council for sure.
For sure. And same here. If you hear any stories, successful stories in your way with the Physicians Council on menopause, we would love to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Because, unfortunately in Europe, people really think it's still very backwards on that. It's becoming more, but people still think, "Ooh, I'm gonna get high," and everything you said. Oh, I'm dry. I'll get sleepy. I'll get high. It's a drug, and which is not. And you're starting to see little shops popping up. Or if you go to Amazon, you will find a lot of products out there, and that's what I think is the misconception. Amazon, can you really buy it or not? Is it credible or not? And then these brands, I think a lot. I think we need to be educated more and more, and hence why speaking to someone like you, it's so I'm so grateful for that, because I think it opens the eyes for so many of us of what CBD is and THC, and what the difference is, and how we do not cure, but we do eliminate, or what we say, we help with the symptoms of whatever that might be. But we still, I think for us in Europe, maybe now that you said stage 3, what does that mean, stage 3, for cannabinoids? What did you said? You said,
You're talking about the Schedule 3 in terms of the
yeah,
drug. Well,
yeah,
certain drugs are like Schedule 1, like certain psychedelics and things like that,
yeah,
LSD.
yeah.
Schedule 3 is like rated like a steroid would be.
Oh,
So
really?
it basically means there's not as much risk to a consumer. And now that they're descheduling it or putting it at Schedule 3, it opens up a ton of opportunities for clinical trials. That's really at the root of it. That's really the important takeaway, is that the government here in the United States is determined, oh, this isn't really as bad as we have been telling people for the last 80 years or whatever it's been. It's really
Mm-hmm.
not, the thing that should cause any hysteria. So that's a really, really comforting signal. And that means that you're going to start seeing big money flow towards it. You're going to start seeing pharmaceutical companies spend millions on clinical studies and clinical trials. So that's really exciting, because that's really going to pave the way for mainstream use.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming into my channel and speaking to my community about it. Like I said, it's so needed. Um, Truly appreciate it. You look amazing, by the way. So whatever CBD is doing to you, I better start taking it.
Yeah, you
To
should
make
have seen me 5 6 years ago. You wouldn't have said that.
Oh my God, whatever it is, you obviously work well than you. I'm
So much.
so happy that you're doing well. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
And
you.
for everyone watching this, thanks for tuning in on this episode. Today, we covered the use of cannabinoids in the medical treatment. Be sure to join us again as new episodes will be released every week. Don't forget to follow Famina Wellness on Instagram. Stay tuned and please spread the word.